What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 111. We have Ismail Bonfim, his brother, Gabriel Bonfim, going against Randy Brown. We're back in the Apex. We are back in the Apex here for another card. And I came on here last week and I said, I'm excited to actually be back in the Apex. You know, the crooked commission in Canada, you know, stopping fights and restarting them, you know, Dan Mergliata, you know, the crooked commission in Brazil, you know, letting Lucas Almeida fight with a clearly broken hand. I thought, hey, the shenanigans, I think they might come to a halt in Vegas, you know. But it turned out we had the most shenanigan card of all time with the Isaac Bulgarian situation. So we're right back in the Apex, which is interesting. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of plays out. I feel like everybody's going to be on their best behavior, the referees, the crooked judges, the fighters. So I think we now might get back to a little bit of normalcy, because this last month and a half has been crazy with referees stopping fights and restarting them. You know, like I said, the Isaac Bulgarian situation. So it's just been a really weird last month and a half. But like I said, I expect everything to go a lot smoother. Hopefully, we'll see. But we got 13, I think 12 fights to talk about for UFC Vegas 111. Before we get into those fights, if you guys could like the video, subscribe to the channel, trying to reach 30K. We got about 2 months to do so. And leave me a comment. If you do comment down, you will get a chance to be featured on Comment of the Week on my prediction video. All right, let's get into some fights. So, Zachary Reese going against Jackson McVey. A fight that kind of got thrown together last second. Reese stepped in on very short notice. I think he accepted the fight like Wednesday. And this is a catch weight of 195 pounds. And yeah, this is an unbettable fight for me. You know, the fight doesn't go to decision. It's minus 900. I mean, this guy, Zach Reese, has actually been to decision a couple times with Dusko Todorovic, of all people, with Jose Medina, of all people. So it's not a lock that this fight's going to finish inside the distance. So minus 900, that's crazy. The under 1.5 is something that I had circled potentially, but that's unplayable at minus 200. So it's a fight I'm fine with passing on. You know, if anything, you maybe take a shot on Jackson McVey because he is a big dog here, but even then it's kind of disgusting. So I'm going to sit back and watch the first fight. I do expect it to be violent, but so do the odds makers there. Next, we got Daniel Marcos going against Miles Johns. Not a fight I'm too excited about. I think this is a very close fight. You know, Miles Johns, the cardio has been looking a lot better the last couple fights. He's always been a pretty good minute winner. You know, the very good record in decisions. Miles Johns has some power. You know, Marcos probably the better striker, more volume, more variety on the feet. If it turns out Miles Johns does resort to that wrestling, can maybe land some takedowns here. But yeah, I think this is a close fight that goes to decision. And I think it's going to come down to who the crooked, corrupt judges think are going to win. I think it's a dog or pass, if anything, but I don't really see a need to get involved in this one. Denise Gomes, Tisha Pennington. I like Gomes here ever so slightly. Another fight that I do feel like can play out a little bit closer than the line does indicate. I think Gomes by decision is the most likely scenario. If you guys are looking for a parlay piece this week, the over 2.5 rounds where the fight goes to decision is parlayable in my opinion, but another fight that I'm not running to the window for. So yeah, these first 3 fights, not a ton sticking out. Next, we got Josh Hokit going against Max Jimenez. And yeah, this is, this should be Hokit. This should be Hokit. He's minus 400. I think he's minus 400 for a reason. He's going against a BJJ guy who I don't think is that great at BJJ, who I don't think has any wrestling, who has no striking, who doesn't like getting hit, who's been knocked out in his only loss. I mean, this is a kind of a layup for Josh Hokit. But at the end of the day, this is a heavyweight fight, a sloppy heavyweight fight. Hokit is making his debut, but I do feel like Hokit should win this fight and actually win a few fights in the future. You know, this guy, Hokit, is really good at, you know, wrestling, and, you know, right off the bat, that's going to, you know, let him beat not 75% of the heavyweight division. So, yeah, this should be Hokit. I think the price tag's warranted. I have a unit and a half on Hokit to win by KO at minus 115. I think that's the most likely scenario here. And I think Hokit round 1, round 2, which I saw at minus 130. That's also a good look. Hokit should really kind of run through Jimenez. If you like Jimenez for some reason, Jimenez by submissions plus 1,000 or greater, I kind of think that's his path. Next, we got Jacqueline Cavalcanti going against Mara Bueno Silva. Yeah, the pick here is Cavalcanti by decision. But, you know, there's a bet that stuck out, and I was going to keep it very light this week, and I kind of am. But a lot of value started poking out throughout the week, and one value bet that's poked out is the Mara Bueno Silva submission prop at plus 900. Like, I feel like that's her money line. She's won 4 or 5 of her fights in the UFC by submission. The only fight she didn't win by submission was against Yanan Wu, where she attempted a couple submissions in that fight. And you look through her record, like, she attempts a ton of submissions throughout her UFC career. So if she wants any chance of winning this fight, she's going to have to make it dirty. She's going to have to get this fight down to the ground. And if she does get this fight down to the ground, she's going to have opportunities to get submissions. So I just thought the sub prop for Silva, it's just a wrong price. I mean, that's kind of how she wins fights, and that's kind of how I see her winning this fight. Like I said, I think Cavalcanti by decision is the most likely scenario, but they're all over that, minus 180. But yeah, that sub prop really stuck out, and I threw a half unit on it at plus 900. Next, we got Ricky Simone going against Raoni Barcelos. Very tough fight to call here, in my opinion. This is kind of the fight I think I struggled with the most, from a pick perspective, because we have two guys that I kind of think are on their way out. I know they're coming off of wins, but I mean, I didn't think Ricky Simone looked that great in that Smotherman fight. Prior to the Basharat win, he was coming off of back-to-back losses, and Raoni Barcelos is 38 years old. I was watching the weigh-ins today, and it's like, geez, Raoni's getting old, man. I mean, this guy looks more like 48, rather than 38. So I'm worried about Barcelos, man. I'm worried about the age. And, Simone, I've always questioned his chin ever since that Uriah Faber fight where he got knocked out in the first round. So I feel like both these guys are very untrustworthy. Both these guys can be finished. And I wasn't going to touch this fight, but then I saw the under 2.5 rounds at plus 210. And I took a unit shot on that. I mean, I can see, both guys knocking each other out, and obviously both guys have quite a few submissions on their record, so I can see a couple different ways this can finish, but I do think this fight's actually going to take place on the feet, and if it does, yeah, I mean, we've seen Simone knocked out, and we've seen Barcelos hurt, like, in pretty much every single fight as of late. Like, he's getting hurt and wobbled and dropped. I mean, even Cody Garbrandt, of all people, hurt Barcelos. So I think Simon KO is very live. Wouldn't be shocked if Barcelos got a KO, but yeah, the under 2.5 rounds at plus 210. I don't mind that look for a nice value play there. So 1 unit on that. Next, we got Emil going against Jamal Emmers. And yeah, this is kind of annoying because I really liked Violence in this matchup, but they're kind of all over it. The fight doesn't go to decisions, minus 260, which you're paying a ton of chalk there for a featherweight fight, where featherweight fights, they do go to decision, quite a bit in the division. But I mean, this is also a Emil fight, which is going to be complete chaos. I think somebody probably does get served here. I was looking at the fight ends by knockout, which is minus 155. I don't mind that. I was looking at the fight won't start round 3, which is around minus 150. I don't mind that. But a prop stuck out, and it's the Emil, early prop, round 1, round 2, because I think somebody's probably going to get finished within the first 10 minutes of this fight, just with the way Emil fights. This guy has multiple finishes within the first and second round. I don't think Emil has a third round finish on his record as far as maybe one, but I do think it's going to be a hectic paced fight. I think if Emmers is winning this fight, it's going to be a KO1. But I like Emil. I like Emil Hill round 1, round 2. Got it at plus 290, which I thought was a crazy line for a half unit. I think Emil has a good chance to go out there and touch the chin of Emmers, who Emmers has been finished in the majority of his losses. So yeah, give me Emil round 1, round 2. Next, we got Marco Tulio Silva going against Christian Leroy Duncan. Yeah, weird fight here. I missed the line on Tulio. I do like him to win, but I'm not that confident to go out there and lay minus 175 on the guy. He is defensively irresponsible. He is willing to eat one to give one. He does have that shoot-to-box type style. And, Duncan, he does have a lot of power for the division. So a Duncan knockout, I kind of feel like that's his path. It wouldn't shock me, but I do feel like Tulio is the rightful favorite. The volume, the grappling upside, and this guy's an animal. So I like Tulio, but minus 175, it's a little bit too wide for my liking, and I'm fine with passing. Not really any props sticking out. I kind of lean Tulio by decision, but I can see this fight playing out a ton of different ways, so passing on it. Next, we got Ismael Bonfim going against Chris Padilla, and the money's pouring in on Chris Padilla. So Bonfim showed up at weigh-ins today. He looked awful. I mean, he looked terrible. He clearly cheated, though. He weighed in 5 pounds overweight, and he was walking really slow to the scale, and I thought that was really weird, but he was actually one of the very first kind of fighters to weigh in. He was in that first wave of fighters to weigh in, so he didn't really try to cut that extra weight. So I do think he cheated quite a bit. But yeah, he did look bad. There are rumors circulating that he's injured. I don't believe that to be the case. I just think he's a cheater, and I think he just didn't want to cut the weight. So I don't think he's injured, but a lot of money's coming in on Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla is even plus 100 on some books now, and it looks like this line might even flip. So if you got in on Padilla early, you did your job. You got that CLV. I'm still sticking with my pick of Bonfim by decision. I obviously hate it now that he missed weight and looked awful, but what I do like is the finish only for Chris Padilla. After I saw the weigh-ins, it was a kind of a play or a bet that I had circled already, and after seeing the weigh-ins, I had to jump in for 1.5 units on the Chris Padilla finish only at plus 105 there. So I like Padilla finish only. I don't mind sprinkles on Padilla finish props. I mean, Bonfim's been finishing all 5 of his losses, so I think it's either Bonfim by decision or Padilla some type of finish, and that's why I like that finish only. Next, we got Uros Medic going against Muslim Salikhov. Yeah, I think violence is the right move here as well. Another fight that's kind of tough to call. You have 2 guys who I think are very chinny, especially Uros Medic. You have one guy in Salikhov who's extremely old. Says he's 41 years old, but he's probably in his 80s. I mean, that guy Salikhov super old. So you got the aging Salikhov versus the very chinny Medic that got dropped by Gilbert Urbina. I think there's a good chance somebody gets served here in the first round. I liked under 1.5 rounds, but I did see a play that stuck out, and it was the fight to end in the very first round. Got it at plus 160. Could not believe that number. Believe it has moved a bit, but I mean, I think there's a greater than 50% chance that this fight ends in the first round. If it doesn't, I could see it getting a little bit greasy maybe. If it does, get past the first round, round and a half, maybe it does go a little bit later, but both guys are aggressive. Both guys hit hard. Both guys, I question their durability. I like that fight ends in round 1. Have a unit on it at plus 160. Next, we got Joseph Morales going against Matt Schnell. I like Morales here. I like Morales inside the distance. Matt Schnell's been finished 8 times. I think he's the least durable fighter currently on the roster. Matt Schnell, this guy, he's retired like 5 times the last 5 years. I don't think he has much of a chin. I think he has very suspect submission defense, and I think Morales is getting Schnell at the right time. Money's been pouring in on Morales throughout the week, and I agree with that line movement. I think Morales wins this fight. Could be knockout, could be sub, could be club and sub, but I like him to win inside the distance. I have 2.5 units on it at minus 105. It's around minus 130 right now. I still like it. I think he wins and wins violently. And then we got Gabriel Bonfim going against Randy Brown. So I think it might be a good live bet spot potentially for Randy Brown, and I'll be taking a look at it from a live bet perspective. But, Gabriel Bonfim submission in rounds 1 or rounds 2 is plus 340. I put a half unit on that. I think that's his win condition. I think if he's winning this fight, he's going to submit Randy Brown within the first 10 minutes of the fight, whether it's a club and sub, which he has a ton of in his career, or whether he's taken down Randy Brown, who can be taken down, and use that jiu-jitsu and get that sub within the first 10 minutes. So that's how I'm playing it. Small poke on Bonfim, sub 1, sub 2, half a unit, plus 340. I think that's a very, very solid line, and I think that's kind of how he wins. But like I said, if it gets extended, past the first round and a half, 2 rounds, maybe I'll look to live bet Randy Brown. So, yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Just a quick recap. I am on the Josh Hokit KO. And I do like, I might add on potentially for that Hokit fight, because I think Hokit really should be Jimenez, but I'm on Hokit KO. Silva by sub. The Simone Barcelos under 2.5 rounds. Hyder Emil rounds 1 or rounds 2. The Chris Padilla finish only. I'm on the Salikhov Medic fight ending in round 1. Morales inside the distance, and Bonfim submission rounds 1 or rounds 2. So that's what I'm looking at for this week. If I add anything, I'll pin it in the comments. But yeah, a couple spots sticking out this week. A lot of spots sticking out next week. And hoping the Bulgarian fight, the Bulgarian situation kind of brings things back to normal. Hopefully referees don't start or stop and restart fights. That'd be great. And hopefully nobody throws the fight this Saturday. So yeah, guys, best of luck. UFC Vegas 1 at 11. And we'll talk to you soon. See ya.